Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And for those of you that saw the opening remarks, my name is Rachel Mitchell, and I'm the Director of Business Development for TorontoJobs.ca. And I'm joined by Gloria Annable, who's a student recruiter from CPA Ontario. So thanks so much for being here, Gloria.
Thanks for having me.
We were just chatting about the virtual world and the crazy shift of the pandemic, which I'm sure you're going to talk a little bit about in your presentation. So she's going to talk about take the lead in changing the world and becoming a CPA. I know that we do a lot of recruiting at Toronto Jobs, and a lot of positions, especially in accounting, are requiring a CPA designation. So,
Mhm.
as a student, if you're not aware of what CPA is, it's a great that you're here today to kind of educate yourself on that. A lot of it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be an accountant, right, Gloria? A lot of sales leaders, HR leaders, they all have
Yep.
CPA designations. A lot of business owners,
Yep.
which I learned very early on when we started working with you. So it's truly an amazing. We worked with your association for over a decade. Truly an amazing association, not just from a perspective of having the designation, but just your sense of community and all the events that you
Mm.
do and opportunities for leaders to meet other leaders within your organization. So very excited you
Exactly.
can join us and very thankful that you're here today. Um, so Gloria, you're one of the most the CPA. Let's talk about CPA. I was reading. So CPA is one of the most respected accounting designations in the world. Becoming a CPA is your key to a prosperous and fulfilling career. Gloria Annable, you're a student recruiter for Eastern and Northern Ontario, responsible for building awareness of the CPA designation and the numerous opportunities it provides to students across campuses in your region. So we're lucky to have you here. You're a wealth of information. I know you're going to talk a lot about what students can do, and you're going to talk about the designation. So I'm going to pass it over to you because I don't want to take up too much time. And I'm going to come back for questions. So if anyone has any questions throughout the duration of the presentation, Gloria can't see them. So I'm going to come back on when the question and answer period is, and I'm going to facilitate them. So we strongly urge you to put your questions in the chat. You can put it in the stage chat. And when I come back, we're going to answer those questions. So again, if you
Yep.
have any questions at all, we'll be happy to field those at the end of the presentation. So I'm going to pass it over to Gloria. Again, thanks so much for being here, and I'll be back.
All right. Thank you so much again for having me. Hi, everyone. And like Rachel said, unfortunately, I can't see the chat. Otherwise, I usually like to have this be really, really interactive. But for now, let's just go through the presentation, and then I'll try and save quite a bit of time at the end for your questions, any questions you have about the CPA designation, your situation specifically, how you can position yourself in your job search. We can address all of that getting toward the end. So, like Rachel said, my name is Gloria or Glo. I am one of the student recruiters with CPA Ontario, along with my colleagues Sean Mullen, Faith Pember, Betsy Exley. You may have crossed paths with some of us over the past school year. But if you haven't, I'll just explain really quickly. As student recruiters with CPA Ontario, we work with students across the province at various post-secondary institutions to share about the CPA designation and help students essentially guide their path toward getting their designation or positioning themselves for their job search. So we are available as a resource. If you have any questions, I'm going to have my contact information up at the end as well. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions you might have. And if it's something that, is not easily explainable over email, I can show you how to register for a one-on-one free phone advisement as well. That's something that we offer as well. So in addition to being a resource, we also do a lot of skills development workshops, both soft skills and technical skills, because we really believe in the value of having students getting ready for their future careers. And the time for you to get ready for your future career and making sure that you are career ready and employable is while you're still in school, not afterwards when you're, searching for work. Although there are still things you can do afterwards as well. Anyway, so I'll touch a little bit on that. But for now, we're really going to just spend some time together talking about the CPA designation and what CPAs do. So, with the world turned upside down with the pandemic, everything we have taken for granted is really being reevaluated, and more people are questioning, what the future is going to look like, right? The finance and accounting professions are no exception. And there are questions that need to be answered, right? So, what about artificial intelligence, AI? How much should CPAs know about big data, machine learning, blockchain? So these are not easy questions to answer. The world faces a series of challenges. And students thinking about a profession in the financial world have to be ready to face these challenges head on. You have to be ready to define what you want your career to be, what you want your future to look like, right? So CPAs in 2030 will not necessarily only be having these traditional accounting roles. Perhaps they will be in sustainable finance, right? Sustainability is a huge topic these days. Or they may be guardians of, data integrity, making sure that the data that's going into these AI applications is accurate and unbiased. Who knows? The one thing I can share with you all is that there's no such thing as a typical CPA. You'll find CPAs that are accounting firm executives, they are entrepreneurs, regulators, academics, they're government representatives, sustainability experts. You'll find them in tech, and then you'll find professional accountants working in business and industry as well. It really is a profession that is incredibly versatile and that opens doors to wherever you want your career to take you. And this is because CPAs are provided with a toolkit that the industry knows makes them trusted financial experts. What we give you when you go through the professional education program is not just the ability to look at the numbers and understand them, but also strategic critical thinking abilities to help you make judgments about what the data is telling you. And this is the reason why you're going to find CPAs in leadership roles across industries and across various sectors as well. That's because they understand the language of business, which is finances, right? No matter what you do, no matter where you end up, you're going to need to have a financial foundation in order for any organization to be viable. And you want CPAs there to help you interpret the data to make informed decisions for the benefit of your organization. So, in a nutshell, that's what CPAs do, right? They simplify complexity and they transform data into business strategy. There's a lot of students who have a misconception about, the CPA stuck in the basement office, number crunching 40 hours a week, which really sounds soul suckingly boring and dry. And I'm really happy to be able to share that that's not what CPAs do. And in the next few slides, I'm going to share more about stories about where you'll find CPAs and where your career can take you. Really, the sky is the limit with a CPA designation. So, just a few fun facts about the CPA profession. CPA is the leading accounting designation here in Canada. Oops, I've gone one too far. And we also have over 210,000 members across the world. And this is because the designation is globally recognized. And I'll share a bit more information, especially for those of you who would. So with CPA Ontario, we have over 94,000 members and over 22,000 students who are currently going through the professional education program. So what this shows is just the fact that the supply, or rather the demand for CPAs, is extremely high. And I'll share later on about the number of organizations that are willing to pay for you to go through and get your CPA designation. And one fact that we're really proud of as well at CPA Ontario is the fact that there's over 500 Ontario CPAs in leadership roles across the province. So when you become a CPA member, you have the force of the community behind you, supporting you, making sure that you're staying on the forefront of industry trends, providing you with career development, workshops, and opportunities to make sure that your skills stay sharp. So you're definitely not in this alone. So like I mentioned before, the CPA designation is recognized across the globe. And these are just some examples of countries where we have agreements of understanding with. So you may have heard the stories of immigrants who come to Canada and find out that, their certifications aren't recognized. They have to jump through some extra hoops. With a CPA designation, that is an extra hurdle that is removed because the profession across the world understands the tools and the skills that you bring to your role as a CPA. So it's highly desirable. So if anybody here loves the idea of traveling, after COVID is done, I know I do. I can't wait to go on vacation somewhere warm and fun. Your CPA designation is essentially your passport to travel the world and still have job security. So I always like to show this slide as well because, your earnings as a CPA is growing exponentially. If you look at the direction that the arrow is going over the past few years and as you gain more experience in your career as well, it's completely growing and going forward. But in as much as this shows you that, yes, this is a profession that you can have that will give you financial security, at the end of the day, really think about the impact that you want to have in your community. What do you want to say at the end of your life that you did for others, how you were able to help people, how you're able to drive change and move an organization forward. This is something that you can do with your CPA designation. And then, like I said, there's a big misconception that you'll find CPAs only as accountants in, traditional accounting roles. But actually, we have CPAs working in all sorts of industries and in all sorts of sectors. So you have, business owners, you have people doing wealth and estate management. You have CPAs in public service, not for profit, like I mentioned. And then these are just a further breakdown with specific numbers in terms of where you find CPAs. I love this slide because usually when I show the slide, the students' eyes like pop wide open. Only 17% of CPAs are in public practice, right? So that's a firm that's delivering accounting, audit, or tax services to clients. But you'll find CPAs doing lots of other things as well. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you some of the stories that I have coming up of what CPAs are doing. And if anybody here loves the idea of starting their own business as well at some point in the future, this is a designation that can help you do that. Because once you understand the language of business, there's nothing stopping you from opening your own business and going into business for yourself and taking care of your own business and leaving a legacy, for your children, your grandchildren, who knows at this point, right? So let's pivot a little bit, and I'll share 3 stories about CPAs who are doing things that you may not realize that CPAs can do. So our first story is Chioma. She is a life coach and a career coach as well. She's a motivational speaker, and Chioma really loves giving back to her community. So you'll find her at various speaking events where she's encouraging people, motivating young women. She's the founder of the Winning Circle, as an example, and that's an organization that matches young women who are trying to get ahead with their career, matches them with older women who they can get career advice from as well. And she's also the CEO and co-founder of My African Corner, which helps African businesses connect with each other. So that's just an example of the fact that you can do what you love and use it to make an impact in your community. Now, for those of you who might be more interested in tech, this is Ileana's story. Now, she's the managing director of Accenture, and they use kind of human-centric designs to use AI to the benefit of various organizations. And she's also the founder of Collider X, which is the world's first research and development blockchain hub. So she saw an opportunity. She says, you know what, there's a gap here. This is something that I can fill in based on the skills that I got through my CPA designation. I am going to start this organization that's going to do more research regarding blockchain and AI and how that can positively impact society. So if you're thinking, well, if you're a CPA, then you can't be into tech, I hope Ileana's story illustrates that that's not the case at all. And then Josh is our final story, and he is a partner at Live CA. Before COVID even, was anywhere on the horizon, Live CA was already 100% fully online. Canada's first online-only accounting firm providing accounting services to clients across the country. So these are just examples of, what you can do with your CPA designation. You can take that, use that tool set, and basically pivot to whatever it is that you'd like to do. So how exactly do you become a CPA? I'll go through this really quickly because we don't have too much time. But if you were interested in doing a deeper dive, we offer information sessions bi-weekly. If you go to cpaontario.ca, you'll be able to check out one of our information sessions that goes into a lot more detail about the process. But just for a bird's eye view, you can become a CPA student with any degree that you have. And like I just illustrated, people from various different backgrounds get their CPA designation. So we don't want to limit anyone. There are 14 prerequisite courses that I needed. If your background is in accounting or commerce, the advantage there is that usually those 14 courses are rolled up into your program already. But if you're not an accounting student or your background is not in commerce and you're still in school, you can use your elective space to take some of those 14 courses. Or if you've graduated and you've realized, you know what, this sounds really interesting. I wish I had those 14 courses. You can take them directly through CPA Ontario using the degree that you already have. And then that way you would be eligible to enroll as a CPA student once you have those 14 courses under your belt. So for the professional education program, there are two components to it. One is educational and the other is practical experience. So once you finish the educational component along with a practical work experience component, take the final exam at the end, which is known as a CFE. That's how you get your CPA designation. So here's a bird's eye view of what the professional education program itself looks like. There are 6 modules that you will need to complete, and each module has an exam at the end of it that you do need to pass before you can move on to take the second module. Now, these modules are designed to be completed part-time online while you are working. So it's not like, oh my goodness, I only have additional school to do after I graduate. No, you're actually getting some practical work experience. So, at the end of the day, you're coming home doing your readings, you're going into work the next day, and you're applying what you've learned. And that helps the concepts that you're learning really, really stick. And that's what really helps you become a world-rounded professional. Now, these are the areas that are covered through the CPA program. These are the 6 technical competencies that we believe give you a solid foundation in order for you to become really successful as a financial professional. I heard somebody say it this way, that as an accountant, you're not only expected to know accounting, you're expected to know the whole financial world. And this is the reason why the CPA designation helps you become successful, not just as an accountant, but as a finance professional. So 75% of CPAs in Canada, as an example, have their CPA designations, and that's what's helping them be successful in their roles. And then enabling competencies. I'm sure you guys have heard of soft skills by now. These are what's going to set you apart from the competition, right? Everybody in your class is learning the exact same technical skills. But the thing that could get you to actually land that job is your proficiency at soft skills like judgment, communication, self-management, teamwork, leadership. So for that reason, we include an ability for you to gain these enabling competencies as you're going through the professional education pathway as well. So this is a little bit more detail about what each module has. So I talked about the 6 technical competency areas, which are the foundation you need. And then you're able to select 2 electives to basically focus on what your interests are. What are your passions? Are you interested in performance management, tax, finance? Whatever it is, you are able to pick 2 of those. And then the capstone modules really then enable you to prep for the common final exam. The exam is not anything to trip you up, right? It's just really there to help you demonstrate the knowledge that you've gained as you've gone through the professional education program. So that's essentially a highlight of the professional education program and what you gain from it. Now, for the practical experience component, before you become a CPA student, you are able to roll in 12 months worth of relevant paid work experience before you become a CPA student. And then once you are a CPA student, you're able to pick up those remaining 18 months worth of practical work experience. Now, keep in mind that the work experience is not, it's not something that, you can, I was a cashier or I was a salesperson or I was in marketing. It does have to be relevant. And you have 2 options in terms of getting that practical experience. One is the EVR route, experience verification, where you can gain relevant work experience and work in any organization that you choose. You just need to make sure that you are kind of going through the rotations and making sure that you're getting all the requirements that are part of the practical work experience requirements that you need to have. And like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but once you become a CPA student and you get to the point where you're trying to pick up the 30 months, there's so much resources that you can have to help make sure that you're ticking off all those boxes. So you can use the experience verification route, or you can use the pre-approved program route where an organization says, you know what, we have so many CPA students coming through here that we're just going to go to CPA Ontario and have them pre-approve our program and help us make sure that we're doing the right thing in terms of the job and roles that we have CPA students doing. So that's essentially it in terms of differences. Either option works just as well. It's really up to you which one more fits what you're looking for in terms of work and in terms of the companies that you're interested in working in. And then as a CPA student, you do have services that are available to you. So if you're doing the EVR, for example, and you realize, you know what, this organization is a bit too small, it's not allowing me to get everything that I need for my practical work experience, you have access to the CPA Ontario job board, for example. And then, like I said earlier, the community is behind you, wanting to make sure that we're giving you the skills that you need to continue providing value to the organizations that you work with. So we have various career development events for CPA students. We have workshops, webinars, conferences that you can attend to make sure that you're staying abreast with everything that's happening in terms of socioeconomic factors, industry trends, things that you need to know in order to make informed decisions for your organization. So let's talk quickly about the importance of soft skills in the workplace. So like I mentioned before, whenever you go through the professional education program, not only are we giving you the technical skills that you need to succeed as a finance professional, but you're also being given the ability to gain some soft skills that as well that will help you get ahead whenever you're looking for work. So judgment is something that you really need to be able to hone. But how can you hone judgment if you don't know what the data is, if you don't know how to apply critical thinking skills? So that's one thing that we really try and make sure that all our CPA students get. And then communication skills. Someone once told me being a CPA is really being in the business of relationships, because your clients are coming to you and they're asking for your advice, and being able to confidently communicate what the data says, what they should do, the next steps you take is extremely important. I'm sure most of you don't want to get advice on somebody who's looking down like this and who's bumbling and is not really clear and is just not confident in the way that they're communicating. So it's not just about the things that you say, it's your body language as well. And your self-awareness, being aware that, these are my limitations. This is what I can take on. This is what's too much for me. Being able to figure out, okay, where can I position myself so that I can do my best work for my manager, for my clients. And I always advise students, you know what, if your manager is giving you a lot of work, it's great that you want to take it all on, but you have to also know your limits. Because what managers hate worse is somebody who says, yep, I can do it all. And then the next thing you know, things are falling by the roadside. Managers hate that. I can tell you that for sure. What they would prefer is for you to say, okay, here are all the things on my plate. I would love to take on this additional thing that you've given me. However, that means I need to bump something else. So can you help me figure out what are the things that are high priority for you? And then that gives your manager an opportunity to say, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I can pass on to someone else. So you really have to have the ability to pick up some soft skills while you're still in university or even after you've graduated. There was an article in the Globe and Mail just last year, especially when the pandemic hit. I was talking about the fact that it's really time to brush up on your soft skills, especially in the age of remote working. So that's one of the reasons why we at CPA Ontario developed the post-secondary ambassador program. It's something that's been available for a few years now, but it gives you the ability to attend, professional development workshops even as an undergrad student, and you're able to pick up some of these soft skills that I'm talking about, or some of the technical skills that you need to be career ready. So PSAP as a whole exists in order to give students the ability to become career ready. So PSAP is done for this current academic year. However, registration is opening up next month. So if you create a free account at cpaontario.ca/sign up, you'll be put on a mailing list and you will know whenever PSAP is open again for registrations. So what can you do in terms of starting your CPA path today? If you're still an undergrad, you can complete a self-assessment in terms of those 14 courses so that you can know where you stand and if there are any additional courses you need to pick up. If you're in your final year and you're interested in pursuing your designation, you can go ahead and submit your transcripts for assessment, and then you can check out the post-secondary ambassador program, like I said. So this is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I know we covered a lot of material and we covered it really quickly, but now I'm going to reach out to Rachel again and basically be ready to take any questions that you might have.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. As I said, such a fantastic organization, and there's so much to know. So if anyone has any questions, we'll be taking questions right now, right? I guess we'll just dive right into it. Amazing. So you were telling me you've been with CPA for a year and a half. So what major, if any, changes has CPA gone through over this pandemic?
Well, I'm sure, as you know, we had to pivot really quickly and take all our events online. Like I shared before, we have a lot of skills development workshops to help students get career ready, even while they're still in university. So we would usually be doing all of these in-person events, right, connecting to the students face to face.
Right.
So when the pandemic hit, there was a moment of panic where we thought, oh my goodness, how are we going to be able to reach students who have all these questions? So the pandemic really has given us the ability to be able to even reach more students now because all our events are currently online. So we're having students from across the province engage and saying, you know what, I need to be involved outside of the classroom. I need to be able to network with employers. I need to be able to make connections and figure out ways that I can make myself more career ready. So they're really coming out to even more of our events. So every challenge has an opportunity for you to learn something and gain something out of it, right? The proverbial silver lining. So that's what we've found in this time, that we are able to engage with more students and help them in their future careers.
That's amazing. That's great. So in terms of CPA Ontario, and there's probably a lot of new graduates from college, university on the platform today. I know I saw a few when I was doing the opening remarks. So what would be kind of your three main reasons why these people should consider the designation for being a CPA?
All right, three things. Only three things? How much
Well,
time do we
I
have?
mean, there's a lot of reasons why. I see them as a recruiter, as a person that sees job postings all the time. A CPA
Yeah,
designation is a huge plus, huge. I can't even
absolutely.
explain it. But what are your three?
Well, first of all, it gives you that competitive edge. I don't have to tell you how competitive it is to get a job. I used to be an HR recruiter, and I can tell you any day that if I had two resumes for somebody who was looking for financial work and one had their CPA designation and one did not, I would definitely always, 100 out of 100 times, hire the one with a CPA designation. So, one, it gives you that competitive edge. Two, it gives you the ability to start making an impact at a really young age because the profession recognizes what it takes to get a CPA designation. So you'll find CPAs making an impact. All those stories that I shared, Josh, Kioma, they are really, really young. You don't need to wait until you have 20, 30 years of experience under your belt before you have a seat at the adults table, so to speak. So if you're really interested in, making some good money and having an impact at a young age, the CPA designation does that for you. And then the third one, I guess, is that versatility, because once you have your CPA designation, it's almost like the world is your oyster. You can pivot to whatever industry. There's no industry out there that does not need CPAs. And it's talking about practical work experiences. There are organizations, like I said, they'll pay for you to get your CPA designation because the demand is so high. So if you want to have something in your back pocket that's really going to help you be versatile, have an embarrassment of choice and options in terms of where you want your career to take you, this is something that's going to open doors and help you do that.
Like I said, I see it all the time. You see the CPA designation
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, very well respected as like recognizable designations in the world. So
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. So if you could just put your contact information in the chat so people can easily click on it, that would be great. So if
Okay.
you want to just put your LinkedIn profile or your email address there, then people can kind of link directly to it.
All right. So do I put it in the event tab or the stage
The stage
tab?
is fine. Yeah, or either or.
Stage tab. All right. So I'll just go ahead at cpaontario.ca. Feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, I'm more than happy to answer your questions.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and coming up, we have two or three additional speakers. So we've got networking for your career, how to clearly communicate your value to prospective employers, and we have career mapping. So those will all be found in the session area preceding this presentation. So thanks again for being here, Gloria. We really appreciate it.
Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon,
Thank
everyone.
you. You too.